Since the 1970s, the United States has found itself obsessively incarcerating its most marginalized and impoverished citizens. Politicians looking for an edge up against their competitors have placed emphasis on criminality, drug use, and poverty, declaring fictional wars with real consequences upon these concepts in desperate attempts to appeal to the misplaced fear of the American public. These wars have resulted in the exuberant growth of incarceration rates across the country. Institutions focused on punishment strips individuals of their communities and rights, while secluding them from the society they are members of. College prison programs such as GSU PEP gives these individuals a chance to better their lives and communities. The United States holds only 4% of the world's population, yet houses the world's highest population of incarcerated individuals. Despite a decrease in violent crime rates since the 1980s, incarceration rates have soared by 50%. This, along with the disproportionate representation of blacks among prison populations, have left low-income communities in a further state of desperation. High recidivism rates among individuals released from prison ensures that the cycle of mass incarceration and poverty continues, proving that a system focused on punishment and maltreatment does nothing to improve these individuals or the communities it claims to protect. Incarcerated individuals offered higher education college courses during their sentences have shown a 46% decrease in recidivism rates than those that were not offered these programs. These programs give their incarcerated students a chance they have never known, the chance to cultivate their intellectual capabilities while striving towards meaningful and productive futures. Individuals re-entering society face insurmountable challenges, including a lack of social welfare programs, housing, and job accessibility, as well as the physical and monetary demands of parole and probation. Higher education programs such as GSU PEP provides incarcerated individuals the hope and determination they need to strive for and influence a healthier society. Despite the drastic improvement these programs have shown in terms of recidivism and the psychological advancements of their students, these programs face financial barriers due to the lack of funding and governmental assistance. These barriers restrict the resources available to instructors and students, as well as limiting the amount of students that can attend these courses. We spoke with Professor Robert Woodrum, a history instructor at GSU's perimeter campuses and an experienced instructor at Walker State Prison and Phillips State Prison. He is here to offer first-hand insight on the improvement these courses offer and the limitations they face.
In some ways, it's a lot easier. They want to be separated from their environment. I wasn't used to students being so interested in what I was saying. I wasn't used to students being so engaged like that. Probably in both instances when I taught in prison, not so much at Walker the second time around, but certainly at Phillips, I was still teaching in a mindset that, I really had to work to convince the students that it would be worthwhile to be in my class. It's not like that in prison. When you're teaching in one of our campuses, you learn the environment, and it's not the same. Phillips is a moderate security facility. It's much more restrictive in terms of resources. The students don't have the prison libraries are pretty slim pickings, particularly for history. So you have to kind of go in with a textbook, and if you can get essays in for them to read, scholarly essays, you have to bring them in yourself electronically on flash drive that they can just have access to that. And then, them being able to print them out is really hard. And prisons it went from being sort of based on um, the rehabilitation model, the ending the recidivism, repeat offenders, to basically a kind of more of a punishment model. I think education is just so important for liberation. Your body can be incarcerated, but your mind can be free, and and people need that. People need this. And people who are educated in prisons tend not to end up back in prisons. I mean, there's a whole, once people get out of prison, there's a whole stigma attached to that it's hard for them to gain gainful employment, right? And so that is a huge problem. Education helps with that. It helps ease that issue, so recidivism drops. But also, I think it's important as a society that we recognize everybody's humanity, and even people in prison. You can judge a society by how it treats people who are considered the lowest in the society. We treat our incarcerated population well, then we ourselves benefit. I would just encourage people, if you can, to try to get in to a prison to see it. I remember working with Donors Foundation one time. They came to see one of my presentations at Phillips State. They got to meet the students, you know. Incarcerated students are just wonderful. I mean, they're just amazing to talk to, and just it really is moving. And I don't think there's any way you can't give money once you meet incarcerated students.
If we care to further our status as a society, then we can no longer deny higher education to those society deems unworthy. We must accept education as a fundamental human right to ensure a happier and healthier global and national community. Mass incarceration serves to stifle the lower classes and keep them in a perpetual state of distress. GSU PEP and its faculty work to dismantle this cycle, one student at a time.